crack in the armor that allows them to crack this whole entire game open. They manage to take out the Whiz Bubbles. Resolution making the TPL, but
he gets tossed.
FY, what a play! Stealing the toss, tossing Resolution up in the air, and that means Resolution is now stuck. He's going to have to stick here and think about what he did wrong. Free kill for Vici Gaming turns to 2, and now Always Wanna Fly is going to make it a third. Double kill for How, and this seems to be another set of racks as Empire have no buybacks.
Yeah, this is going to mean at least one set of racks. They can't really take the one on top because the Tier 2 tower still stands, but, I mean, this game in the beginning was Empire favored. Like, they had the better builds, they had a really good combination, but the support play from Vici Gaming...
the slam as he jumps forward, but How is still going to be able to stay alive. The burst damage wasn't quite enough, and Queen of Pain quick to retreat. They tried to make that defense, but as Empire finally revealed their last card and Vici Gaming Trumpet, they will now be able to move into Empire's space, take out this lane of racks, and back out with a gigantic advantage.
I'm actually just blown away right now by Vici Gaming's support combo. FY has 3 deaths. This Crystal Maiden with 1,000 HP has 1 death total this entire game against the type of lineup that she's up against. That's unbelievable. That just means his positioning this entire game, he hasn't been caught at all by the relocate combination. Like typically with this combination you see aggression all across the map, you see one support, they die instantly, but FY and Fenrir, for a long time they were considered the premier support duo. That's fallen off a bit, but in this first game that we're seeing by them, they're playing nearly flawlessly.
I'll be honest with you, Blitz, they never fell off in my mind. In my mind, when I think of combinations for supports, FY and Fenrir will always be. I don't care if they retire after TI5. TI6, I'll be like, FY Fenrir, man. These two, they're the ones to, if you're looking at support duos, they are pretty much the champions. Now, Team Empire still have a big opening here. This is going to be a big fight around the Roshan. If they can actually win it, take that Aegis, maybe they can even at least get enough map control where they're feeling a lot more comfortable to farm, or maybe even if it's a big enough fight, for some buybacks. Vici Gaming, they've already got quite the significant lead, so they're not going to be quick to trying to do something drastic like attempting Roshan while Empire back up. They're just going to sit back and farm away.
I just can't highlight enough. In that bottom fight, that actually might have been okay for Empire if only the IO gets taken out. But that toss steal...
Amazing.
I mean, FY, he steals the Echo Slam, turns it around on Silent. There's just been so many plays. Remember that toss in mid as well when they picked off Silent, when he tosses his Dragon Knight in to set up for the stun call down? It's just been so consistently good. Like, if I had to name MVPs, although the game isn't nearly over yet, FY and Fenrir, even if this is a losing effort, they've just been playing outstandingly.
All right, a smoke up, but they're going to go into the cliff of death here, as Vlad calls it. Vici Gaming, they're already well set up to be able to defend this one. Potentially BKB already off pop by Resolution. Ice managed to get away. There goes the ult pin from Silent, but now he's in trouble. Self-Fuel Scepter in order to dodge some of this. Hook shot is played in, but Silent still gets a decent distance away, but Resolution is already gone out, and a Wiz couldn't manage to save him. Yoki, meanwhile, controlled by the supports, has to blink himself away, and once again, Vici Gaming just seemed to be playing defensively, waiting for Team Empire to come to them, and sure enough, that happens. Now that Team Empire have wasted their aggression, Vici Gaming are well set up to take Roshan right after Super gets an extra kill, this time on Silent.
Yeah, they're immediately going to call GG. They realize that if the fight goes like that, and that was a pretty ideal fight for Empire where they set up with their own BKB, nobody really got bursted down immediately, and you still lose the fight, then there's pretty much no hope for you. But this was definitely a game where I'm not going to say it was a throw. It wasn't that bad. Like, the lead that Empire had was never very significant, but they definitely should have made this game a lot closer.
And a lot of it comes down to the incredibly strong play from Vici Gaming, most notably in FY, getting one of the most clearest game-winning pickoffs there with the tiny toss. So
4 deaths combined between their 2 supports. 4.
Pretty insane. Vici Gaming taking game 1 in style here. We're going to have a short break. We'll toss it over to the analyst desk for them to talk about this game number 1.
Thank you very much, Captain Blitz. And yeah, I mean, what a finish to that game. I mean, regardless of the actual game, I know at the very end, we all got pretty excited and people were honestly, what happened? And I think Winter put it pretty accurately. we had a bicycle kick in terms of, it was as cool as a bicycle kick within Dota as you might see in soccer or football, for whichever language you choose to speak, whether it's the President's American or the Queen's English. There are two big differences. But on that note...
So politically correct.
On that note, though, I mean, what a finish. Vici Gaming really pulling through towards the end. And throughout, I know Blitz was talking about that too, right? How we don't see Rubik picked early that often, but when you're a team like Vici Gaming, if you're that confident, you pick it. How do you feel about that game panning out, Winter?
I didn't really get to see the start of it because I was away having a break. But in the later parts of the game, I felt that the two supports from Vici Gaming, absolutely, they played very well, in team fights, and obviously they had very little deaths. Like Blitz said, in total, I think 4 deaths the whole game against IO Tiny. But for me, the biggest impact was the Dragon Knight. He set up a lot of kills, with his blink, with his item selection that game, and gave his team a lot of crucial pickoffs on the Quap. Especially, I saw a few very big pickoffs with the blink. So I think the Dragon Knight was a huge deal in that match as well.
Yeah, I mean, what about you, Ben? I mean, looking at it earlier, you were one of the people saying that I think we're going to see a 2-0 one way or the other. Are you convinced at this point, Vici Gaming, the way they've played, they can definitely carry on into Game 2?
Yeah, I think their draft was a little bit unusual from what I would expect, and yes, it is FY drafting, but the Rubik first pick is generally regarded as pretty strange. And yes, they do have a fantastic Rubik player, but it's not like the Earthshaker was picked at that point, or many of the other heroes, or that game-winning toss,
yeah,
which was a little incredible. But Ice 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 was actually pretty impressive to me. Empire had just taken Roshan, they were retreating, and then he hook shots both the Wisp and the Tiny, and then they turn an Aegis advantage into a 3-hero disadvantage. And that doesn't happen without the hook shot. And, there are a lot of ways to deal with the clockwork of the game. They have, Wisp, they have Relocate, they also have, Grave and Blink on the Queen of Pain, but he still made it happen.
Yeah, definitely some impressive plays there. Now, you brought up a good point in terms of the Rubik. It's not a common thing that you have to look out for, that it's on everyone's mind that, they're going to first pick Rubik. Is this something that, when you're playing against Vici Gaming, that you have to take into account, or is it just, that's one of their strengths, you just can't help it?
Well, what would you let through to ban Rubik in the first phase?
Okay, good.
I mean, it's
good counterpoint.
If you consider, I think there could definitely be some merit to, let's not say just Rubik, but other heroes in general. If the enemy team has a really, really key hero they pick in the first phase,
right,
you can try to set up the draft so that you're trading the powerful heroes. So you're getting 1-for-1 trade instead, by not banning any of the strong heroes like Tusk, Leshrac, or whatever. But I personally don't think Rubik is that strong. I think the player is exceptionally good on it, and he makes it look easy and very, very good, but it's definitely manageable. And I actually think Empire's draft was fine. I think their approach was fine. Vici Gaming, I am definitely with Winter. I think the Dragon Knight, it's also what I said going into the draft. For me, it's going to be about, can they shut down the Queen of Pain? Because I thought they had the tools for IO Tiny. We saw the Clockwork, like Ben said, do a great job. Their supports in general controlled them very well. So the absolute key point was that Super showed up on Dragon Knight, which is one of his trademark heroes, and also a hero that doesn't really get picked much these days. So player-hero combinations, they're really sticking to some of their absolute best heroes there, and made it work.
All right. Well, we do have a quick highlight towards the end of the game from Game 1, so we'll be able to replay that while we discuss a little bit more on how things went through for Vici Gaming versus Team Empire.
Vici know that Empire smoked. They're waiting on the high ground positioning with most of their heroes in a position to be able to pop their BKB. And at this point, Empire's a little bit too far behind. They've given up a 3,000 or 4,000 gold lead and turned that into around a 10,000 gold deficit. But I feel like they really needed their BKBs or a pipe earlier. By the time they got BKBs, they were already in the hole after they lost that Roshan fight. And Vici's such an explosive team. You give them 1 or 2 kills, boom, your Rax is gone. And then you let that happen one more time and you almost lost the game. As opposed to a lot of the other games that we've seen today, I think that Vici has capitalized on the opponent's mistakes the most.
All right. Now, I know we've talked about this before, and I really enjoy talking to you guys because you guys give a lot of credit to the fact that we obviously talk in hindsight here, so it's hard to really blame players or whatnot for what we discuss. But when you bring up a point of, all right, Empire's draft seemed good, at the same time, I forget who mentioned it earlier, but things like Earthshaker were not picked when Rubik was picked. Was there a way for Empire to avoid that, or was it fine of them to stick with their plan, go with the Wisp Tiny, and then go with the Earthshaker, even though they already saw that the Rubik was there ready to steal some of those spells?
I didn't like the ES offlane.
Yes, offlane.
It's
I mean,
like-
it's something that Empire likes to do, though.
Yeah, but there's a time and a place for it. And I mean, we saw some other teams trying to use Earthshaker, and it's just easy to deal with, especially when you have like a jungle maiden. If she's always scared of he's always scared of the ganks, and she can just get away with the jungle, and your carry's free farming, you're getting so much out of that. And he doesn't, really inspire that much fear in the opponent, at least in the early 10 minutes.
Yeah, but I think it's something they're more comfortable with because in the past I've seen when they pick IO plus any carry, they would go for initiating offlane, and they would typically go for Sand King or Earthshaker. So you initiate and relocate comes in, There's this sort of threat in the map that Yoki brings to the table with those two heroes.
Yeah, I mean, Sand King, as we see in the team sheet, of course, kind of a niche pick for Team Empire. We did see it banned in the very last ban last game by Vici Gaming. Maybe it slips through this time. Maybe that's the key that Empire needs to climb back in. But let's phrase that in a different way then. When you're playing against Vici Gaming and they pick Rubik, does that also just extend the value of that Rubik first pick because now it affects, oh, shoot, do we want to pick these heroes because that's also an advantage that Rubik can have?
You definitely need to respect it more than against other teams because FY is just. I personally think I can think of only 2 Rubik players in the world that are just like a tier above everyone else, and it's FY and it's Kuroki. I just feel like they're better at their positioning. They're really good at reacting and stealing the spells at the right time. So I would say against those 2 teams, if you see it picked by Secret or by Vici Gaming, you might consider, okay, should we maybe avoid a hero like Shaker? I think Fissure was stolen that game once or twice. I'm not 100% sure if I did see that, but if I didn't see that, then then the Shaker was fine, right?
Right.
The spells that
technically,
Rubik stole were not a problem for the Shaker, but it's something you can have in the back of your mind. But at the same time, if you let yourself get intimidated too much by the Rubik pick, then all of a sudden there's a lot of heroes you can't pick because, oh, well, I have a good spell, and this guy's really good, so he's going to steal that spell. Oh, now I can't pick Enigma because they're definitely going to steal Black Hole every time I cast it, and he will use it better than me because he's FY. Then you've already lost in the draft, right? If you think that highly of your opponent, respect is great, but you need to have confidence in your own ability.
All right, very fair point. I think that's a good way to put it. We just saw Empire, kind of rallying around, saying, all right, what do we want to do? Preparing for that draft in Game 2, of course, giving the teams a little bit of time so they have things to adjust. Of course, they want to review a little bit of Game 1 at least before they jump into Game 2. From Vici now, do we think then are we going to see something different? Or, hey, it worked, this is what we do, why not go with the Rubik and then wait for Empire to pick and react? What's Vici's strategy here going into Game 2?
I think they capitalized on Wisp's positioning very, very well that game, and just do the same thing, exploit the weaknesses and play to their strengths. They actually ran around as 5 very, very well, and of course when you have a Dragon Knight, you kind of want to do that, but I feel like Empire didn't really play too much as a team. Like they're, ideally you want like the 3 heroes to initiate on someone you'd relocate in, but that only happened like a first couple of times, and then after that they're just like waiting for something to happen. And I think that Vici, they were so much more proactive about using their smokes and just getting 1 or 2 pickoffs, transitioning into a tower, and then extending their lead, and then getting the items that they needed to overcome Empire. And it was just very systematic. Whereas, I'm not used to the Empire that's not that explosive.
All right, Syndrome, question for you. Are you still confident that staying away from my predictions is the right way to go?
What was your prediction?
Well, I said 2-0, and whichever team wins first, I think will go on, obviously.
I'm actually going to lean towards you right now because...
Didn't you
right,
do that
my
boy?
boy?
Did you say 2-0 as well?
I said 2-0.
I said 1-1.
You said 1-1?
Yeah, but I saw which Vici Gaming showed up today, so... I mean, it's not fair for me to change, but...
No, it's all right.
Yeah, so you can't.
No, only one person can change, and Winter Jump dies. So.
No! This is not how games work.
Yeah, but it's good to see when FI is drafting, they are bringing back the old glimpse, their old strats and a glimpse of their old self. That's, for me, it's really important to be able to see that in the first few games. So I think they'll be able to take the series 2-0 if they are just going to pick their stronger heroes and just do what they are good at.
Yeah, I mean,